She whispers it during your third date, her eyes wide with manufactured vulnerability. You're the first man to treat me well, and something in your chest swells with masculine pride because you think you found a diamond that other men were too stupid to value. But what you've actually found is a woman who's about to make you the villain in her next relationship's origin story. You're not special, you're just next. Listen to how she tells it. Every man before you was a monster. Every relationship before yours was abuse, disguised as love. Every breakup was her escaping something terrible rather than contributing to something that simply didn't work. She's the eternal victim in a script where masculine evil is the only explanation for romantic failure. And you're stupid enough to believe that you're different because she says you are. But here's what she's not telling you. Here's what she'll never tell you because she's rewritten history so many times she's forgotten the original draft. She wasn't the innocent victim in those relationships. She was the chaos they couldn't contain. She wasn't the saint who suffered through masculine cruelty. She was the storm that made decent men act like demons just to survive her emotional warfare. Her first relationship ended because she cheated, not because he treated her badly, but because she was 19 and thought variety was the same thing as growth. She told herself he was emotionally unavailable, when the truth was she was emotionally greedy. She needed more attention than any single human could provide, more validation than any healthy relationship could sustain. When she met someone who gave her the excitement her boyfriend couldn't, she didn't break up with him first. She just started living two lives until the truth exploded and destroyed everyone involved. But that's not the story she tells. In her version, he was controlling, jealous, insecure. He didn't trust her because he had issues, not because she was systematically betraying his trust while gaslighting him into believing his intuition was paranoia. She's convinced herself that his pain was proof of his weakness, not evidence of her cruelty, that his attempts to understand what was happening were possessiveness, not the natural response of someone watching the person they love become a stranger. The second relationship ended because she was impossible to please. Nothing he did was enough. His gifts were too cheap or too expensive. His attention was suffocating or insufficient. His friends were boring or threatening. His ambitions were too small or too consuming. She systematically found fault with everything he offered until he stopped offering anything, and then she blamed him for being distant. She turned his love into a losing game and then acted surprised when he stopped playing. But in her retelling, he was emotionally abusive. He gave her the silent treatment. He withdrew affection as punishment. He made her feel like she was crazy for having needs. She's edited out every instance of her impossible demands, every moment of her manufactured crises, every time she turned his attempts to make her happy into evidence of his failure to understand her. She's forgotten that she trained him to withdraw by making every advance a mistake, every gesture an inadequacy, every expression of love a demonstration of how little he actually knew her. The third one ended because she sabotaged it. Deep down, she knew he was too good for her, and instead of rising to meet his level, she systematically destroyed his ability to see her as worthy of his investment. She picked fights over nothing. She created drama where none existed. She tested his boundaries until she broke them, then acted shocked when he finally had enough. She pushed and pushed until he became the angry man she needed him to be to justify her exit strategy. But she's reframed his breaking point as his true nature. The moment when he finally snapped after months of her psychological terrorism becomes proof that he was always violent, always dangerous, always exactly what she said all men were underneath their performance of decency. She's erased her role in creating the monster she needed him to become. She's forgotten that she spent weeks conditioning him to lose control so she could point to his loss of control as validation of her victim narrative. Every man she's ever been with has the same story. They started as her savior and ended as her oppressor. They began by treating her well and concluded by treating her exactly as badly as she needed them to, so she could maintain her identity as someone who suffers rather than someone who causes suffering. She doesn't attract abusive men. She creates them through a systematic process of emotional manipulation that would be impressive if it weren't so destructive. And now you're next in line for the same transformation. She's telling you that you're different, that you're the first man to treat her well, that you're her salvation from a history of masculine cruelty. But what she's actually doing is setting up the same dynamic that destroyed every relationship before yours. She's establishing you as the good guy so she can have somewhere to fall when she inevitably turns you into the bad guy. Watch how she talks about her exes. Notice that she has no empathy for their perspective, no curiosity about their experience, no acknowledgement that relationships involve two people making choices that affect each other. In her universe, she's the only character who matters. Everyone else is just supporting cast in her drama of perpetual victimhood. She doesn't see other people as human beings with their own inner lives, their own wounds, their own reasons for behaving the way they did. She sees them as either resources to be consumed or obstacles to be overcome. This is why every man she's been with treated her badly, according to her story. Not because she attracts bad men, but because she turns every man into a bad man by systematically destroying his capacity to treat her well. She creates impossible standards, then acts betrayed when no one can meet them. She manufactures crises, then blames other people for the drama she creates. She starts wars, then claims self-defense when people fight back. You think you're different because you love her. You think your love will be enough to break the pattern, to heal her wounds, to prove that not all men are the same. But love isn't what she's looking for. Drama is what she's looking for. Chaos is what she's looking for. The opportunity to feel wronged is what she's looking for, because feeling wronged is the only way she knows how to feel important. She doesn't want to be treated well. She wants to want to be treated well. She wants the identity of someone who deserves better treatment, not the reality of actually receiving it. Being treated well would destroy her narrative, compromise her victim status, force her to take responsibility for her own happiness instead of outsourcing it to men who inevitably fail to provide what she refuses to provide for herself. When you treat her well, you're not giving her what she needs. You're taking away what she needs. A reason to feel sorry for herself, a target for her unresolved anger, a villain in the story where she's always the wronged heroine. Good treatment confuses her psychological operating system because she's built her entire identity around surviving bad treatment. Without someone to survive, she doesn't know who she is. So she'll start testing you. Small tests at first, subtle ways of seeing if you'll still treat her well when she makes it difficult. She'll manufacture problems to see if you'll solve them, create insecurities to see if you'll address them, generate conflicts to see if you'll fight for her. And when you pass these tests, when you continue treating her well, Despite her increasing difficulty, she won't be grateful. She'll be disappointed because passing her tests means you're weak. It means you don't have boundaries. It means you're the kind of man who can be manipulated, controlled, used. It means you're not the strong, masculine presence she needs to feel feminine. It means you're going to be easy to destroy, and destroying you won't give her the satisfaction she gets from destroying men who at least put up a fight. So the tests will escalate, the problems will become bigger, the insecurities will become more demanding, the conflicts will become more frequent and more intense. She'll keep pushing until she finds your breaking point, and when she does, when you finally snap and respond to her provocation with the anger she's been systematically engineering, she'll act shocked, betrayed, victimized by your true nature, finally revealing itself. And in that moment, you'll transform from the man who treated her well into the man who treated her badly, from her savior into her abuser, from the exception to the rule. You will become another chapter in her story of masculine betrayal, another piece of evidence that all men are the same, another reason for her to tell the next man that he's the first to treat her well. She's not lying when she says, "You're the first man to treat her well." She's just not mentioning that she's the reason none of the others could maintain that treatment. She's the common denominator in every failed relationship, but she's managed to convince herself that she's just unlucky, just attracted to the wrong men, just cursed with terrible judgment about masculine character. The truth is simpler and more disturbing. She doesn't want to be treated well. She wants to be treated badly so she can feel righteous about her suffering. She wants to be wronged so she can be right. She wants to be victimized so she can avoid the terrifying responsibility of being happy. And she's willing to sacrifice every good man who tries to love her to maintain this psychological arrangement. You're not her salvation. You're her next project. She's going to systematically destroy your capacity to treat her well, then blame you for treating her badly. She's going to turn your love into evidence of your weakness, your kindness into proof of your inadequacy, your efforts into reasons for her disappointment. And when you finally break under the pressure of trying to love someone who punishes you for loving them, she'll add you to her collection of men who treated her badly. The tragedy is that you could be different. You could be the man who recognizes the pattern before becoming part of it. You could be the one who sees through her victim narrative to the psychological machinery underneath. You could be strong enough to refuse to play the game where she wins by losing and you lose by winning, but that would require you to disappoint her immediately instead of eventually. It would require you to refuse to be her savior, to decline the role of the good guy in her psychological drama, to walk away from someone who needs you, to need to save her. It would require you to choose self-preservation over masculine pride, reality over romance, wisdom over the intoxicating fantasy of being the exception to every rule about feminine nature. Most men can't do that. Most men would rather be destroyed by love than saved by solitude. Most men would rather play the game and lose than refuse to play and wonder what might have been. Most men are so desperate to be chosen that they'll ignore every warning sign, rationalize every red flag, and convince themselves that their love is powerful enough to heal wounds they didn't create and can't understand. She knows this about men. She's counting on it. Your masculine desire to be special, to be different, to be the one who finally gets it right, is the psychological hook she uses to reel you into the same pattern that destroyed every man before you. She's not looking for healing. She's looking for another casualty, to add to her collection of masculine failures. Every time you treat her well, you're feeding a machine designed to produce evidence that men can't be trusted to treat women well. Every kindness you show her becomes ammunition for the war she's fighting against masculine nature itself. Every moment of love you offer becomes proof that love is just the prelude to betrayal, that good treatment is just the setup for bad treatment, that every man who seems different is actually the same. She's not the victim of bad men. She's the creator of them. She's not someone who's been unlucky in love. She's someone who systematically destroys love to maintain her identity as someone who deserves better than what she gets. She's not a woman who needs to be saved. She's a woman who needs to be avoided by any man who wants to preserve his capacity to love. But you won't listen to this. You'll convince yourself that she's different, that her story is real, that you're strong enough to break the cycle. You'll believe that your love is more powerful than her pathology, that your consistency will overcome her chaos, that your good treatment will finally heal the wounds left by all those men who treated her badly. And maybe, in some parallel universe where psychology works differently, you'd be right. Maybe there's a version of reality where love conquers all, where good men can save broken women, where treating someone well is enough to teach them how to accept being treated well. But in this universe, in this reality, with this woman, you're just the next man who's going to learn why all the others treated her badly, not because they were bad men, but because she has a talent for turning good men bad and then acting surprised when they behave exactly as badly as she needed them to behave to prove her point about masculine nature. The choice is yours. You can be the exception, or you can be the next example. You can recognize the pattern, or you can become part of it. You can save yourself, or you can sacrifice yourself to her need to be saved from men who can't save her. But remember this. She's already decided how your story ends. You're going to start as the man who treats her well and finish as the man who treated her badly. The only question is how much of yourself you're willing to destroy in the process of proving her right about everything she believes about men. She doesn't need another man to treat her well. She needs to understand why she can't let men treat her well. But that's work she has to do alone, without an audience, without a victim to create and a savior to destroy. And until she does that work, every man who tries to love her becomes evidence that men can't love, that good treatment is temporary, that she was right all along about masculine nature. You were never meant to be different. You were meant to be the same as all the others who thought they were different, who believed they were special, who convinced themselves that their love could overcome her need to be unloved. The woman who tells you that you're the first man to treat her well is confessing that she's about to make you the last man willing to try. Maybe you'll prove me wrong. Maybe you'll be strong enough to refuse the role she's offering, wise enough to see through the story she's telling, healthy enough to choose yourself over the fantasy of saving someone who doesn't want to be saved. Or maybe you'll become another ghost in her collection of men who started by treating her well and ended by giving her exactly what she needed. Another reason to believe that all men are the same, that good treatment never lasts, that she was right to expect the worst from everyone who claims to love her. The algorithm brought you here for a reason. Maybe it was to save you from becoming her next victim, or maybe it was to prepare you for the role you're already determined to play. Either way, now you know what you're walking into. The question is whether you're strong enough to walk away Instead,